Dallas, Texas town. And if you would have visited us on a Friday night in the fall, you might think we were a ghost town because you wouldn't see anyone on the streets. As a matter of fact, the only sign that you might have to clue you in as to what was going on was a sign that the business owners will post on their doors to explain why they closed their businesses early. And that sign read, "Gone to the game." See, I grew up in a football town. We had our own culture, and we had our own way of life, and that's the way we liked it. Until one day, this stranger moved amongst us. And this stranger had the intention to discover how we continuously made state championship football teams. And so this stranger attempted to discover our secrets, but instead found some of our skeletons. See, the stranger ended up learning one of our traditions. He learned that some of our famous sports championship team members actually could barely read or write. And that in their GPA scores or their test scores did not reflect this. The stranger found out that some of our coaches and teachers care more about producing a winning football team than they did about the grades of these players. So what did that stranger do? Well, he ended up writing a book. He ended up exposing the ugliness of our town to the world. He told our secrets. He revealed our skeletons. And what did we do? Well, we got mad. We were angry. And he was blacklisted from our town. He received hate mail, all because he decided to expose the truth. And that's why we're here today. Because one man decided to expose the truth. You'll learn that Chris Smith discovered that the defendant's company was reporting inaccurate financial data. And as he tried to expose this through the chain of command at the company, he was fired. Let me tell you about Chris. Chris came to work for the defendant with 25 years of experience in the IT field. He had a personal goal to be the best senior product manager that he could be. And you'll learn that he excelled at that goal. His first employee evaluation, he received high markings. He exceeded all expectations. And he was so good that he was actually recommended and appointed to serve on the special team. And it was while he was on the special team, you'll learn that he discovered that the numbers that the defendant's corporation was reporting to the public was wrong. You'll hear that the defendant has an open door policy, which means that employees can seek upper level management to discuss when they feel that there's a problem. You'll learn that Chris attempted to do this, but that open door was slammed in his face every time. He tried to report this information to his supervisor, to her supervisor, even to the HR department. And what happened? Well, you'll learn that he was fired by doing that. Now, the defendant is going to try to explain their actions, and they're going to come and they're going to tell you that Chris was fired because he sent inappropriate emails, and the tone of his emails was wrong, and that he sent excessive emails. But what you're going to learn is that they can't number what too many emails are. The tone of his emails was in direct reflection of the culture of the organization. So you're going to learn that the CEO of the defendant's company is an ex-football player. He has a tattoo that says "Let's Roll" on his arm. He swears. He's known to be sarcastic. And he's also told employees that haven't lived up to par that he'll shoot them. So you'll see that Chris's emails fit exactly with the tone of the organization. Now, thankfully for Chris, the law protects employees who try to report inaccurate financial data when their company is reporting something different. And you'll have to determine by the preponderance of the evidence which basically means whether it was more likely than not that Chris was terminated by FAFSA because of his attempt to relay this information. Now, one other thing about that small West Texas town that I grew up in, see, when we got over the hurt and we got over the pain of being exposed, what happened was change. We stopped being so concerned about producing these winning football teams and actually focus on producing educated graduates. And that's what we want here today. We want change. We want fast to change. And we're confident that after you hear all the evidence, that you will want the same thing.
Opening statement, Your Honor?
Yes.
Listening to the plaintiff's counsel's story about her hometown reminded me a lot about my hometown as well. See, I grew up on a ranch in this tiny Texas town. And growing up, I was a really good kid. My parents didn't have to worry about me, and so they were pretty lenient with me. If I wanted to stay out late on weekends, I could. Or at least that's the way it worked until I got in a car accident. See, one weekend in high school, I met my friends at the movie theater about half an hour away. The movie got out pretty late, about 12:45. Coming home that evening, when I was almost back to my house, I fell asleep. When I fell asleep, I just drifted off the side of the road. Now, I was really fortunate that night. I didn't hit a tree or a light pole. All I did was go through a barbed wire fence. As it happened, I went through my father's barbed wire fence. It was horrible. There were cattle out on the highway. You know, I took down this huge section of fence. There were tire tracks in the hay field. I think a horse got spooked and jumped the fence. It was just horrible. I told you I wasn't the type to lie to my parents. But as I got out of that car, all I could think was, what am I going to tell my father? See, I knew that if I told him that I had fallen asleep, then it was my fault, and then I'd get my car taken away. So I had to come up with a story. What was I going to tell him? I thought, I'll tell him that a deer jumped out in front of me. A deer jumped out in front of me, then I swerved to miss it, then I went off the side of the road, through the fence, and into the hayfield. That was my story. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the plaintiff, Chris Smith, is here today. He wants you to believe that he didn't fall asleep at the wheel. He was forced off the road by Sean Black and Fast Incorporated, my client. And you've heard a lot about the case already. You've heard from plaintiff's counsel. And there are a few things that we agree with them on. Fast Incorporated did have an open door policy. And it did have a laid back office culture. It was a great place to work. And Chris Smith, for a while, was a great employee. In fact, he was so good that Sean Black personally appointed him to a team to look at financial data. And Chris Smith did think he found discrepancies in this data. You'll also hear testimony that Chris started sending emails that he himself agreed were inappropriate. And based on all of this information, all of this evidence, plaintiff's counsel wants you to believe that Chris Smith was wrongfully terminated as part of some conspiracy to quiet him about the numbers. And that's where we don't agree. We believe that evidence will show that in the spring of 2003, Chris Smith suddenly became erratic. He became unprofessional and rude and insubordinate. And these changes occurred so quickly and had such a draining effect